Well, I was really fortunate. My father bought a house in the Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw area in 1965, in October of 1965, which is ironic because, as you know, this is a month after the Watts riots. And the white people had been moving out of the area prior to that, and the Watts riots accelerated that at a ridiculous rate. So by the time I was a young kid, there were really like no white people around, you know. And so yeah, that influenced me in a lot of ways. I was, you know, a young kid in school, being, you know, one of the only white kids around, and then in high school, I made a lot of friends from the neighborhood, like kind of next to mine, off of like Slauson and Rimpaw, you know, by like Buddha Market, close to Marathon, Nipsey store and stuff. And these guys were my friends in high school that really put me up on what they were listening to, which was Cameo, you know, Rick James, Bar-Kays, Daz Band, Earth, Wind and Fire, you know, a little bit of like rap stuff that we heard, a little bit of, you know, but it was a lot of funk too. And so I really got turned on by that. And then when I went away to college, you know, I had that background, and I was getting turned on to hip hop, and we were playing a wide variety of music. There was a lot of like new wave white music coming out, and then Madonna and all this kind of stuff that we also played as DJs. So, you know, eventually at one point it just went all hip hop. But for a while, it was for a couple of years, it was pretty mixed, the music we were playing, yeah.
Now, you one of your first schools was Hillcrest Elementary?
My brother went to Hillcrest. I went to Baldwin
Okay.
Hills, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
your older brother went to Hillcrest.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is smack dab in the jungles.
Smack dab in the jungles, yeah. I mean, where we grew up in is right next to the jungles. We went through the jungles every day, you know, to go to school or anything, yeah. And so we had friends in the jungles. I infamously lost my virginity to a girl in the jungles in high school. I mean, you know, we had a lot of friends in that neighborhood, and it was, you know, it was very, as close as it was like night and day. But when you live that close to it, you know, you're still, you know, there's some affiliation and involvement and stuff, you know. But, you know, the blocks that I lived on were drastically different. We lived right above that neighborhood, you know, and so, yeah, a lot of the kids in my neighborhood ended up going to like Palisades and Uni and these rich white schools on permits, you know, and I eventually left the schools in the neighborhood and went to Venice High and other schools on the west side in a similar fashion because of my ethnicity. I could go to Hamilton or Venice, I could get a permit because I helped the ethnic balance at the school. In the same way that the black kids in my neighborhood were going to Palisades and Uni on permits. They were trying to integrate the LA school system, and if you could do it that way, you know, because they were busing people at that time still, but it wasn't forced busing or anything like that. It was black families like Ice Cube's parents who said, hey, let's put our kid on a bus and go to the Valley so they can have a better education, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Ice Cube had to probably get up 2 hours early to go to school, where you didn't have to wake up that much earlier to go to that.
Well, but you know, it was crazy because I was like too cool to let my parents drop me off. And so before I had a car, I used to take the RTD bus smack dab through the jungles, talk about the jungles again. You know, the 75 RTD was what the number line used to be, and it would go, I would pick it up right by the YMCA down below my house, and then I would take it all the way through the J's, and then it would turn on La Cienega and go up to Venice Boulevard. Then I catch the Venice bus. So taking public transportation, you know, which was then called the RTD, you know, it was a wild experience. It was, you know, there was a lot of gangster shit going on those buses. People wouldn't even sit in the last 6 rows. That was reserved for gangbanger dudes, and they would be back there blowing up the bus with the worst marijuana on the planet. Regular, we called it Mersh. It was like Mexican weed with seeds. It smelled really bad.
People in LA know Baldwin Hills, the jungle, but I don't think outside of LA people understand like these two neighborhoods are like night and day, but they're literally adjacent to each other.
Right.
We're talking about one of the most ghetto areas of Los Angeles and one of the most affluent areas in Los Angeles.
Affluent black areas.
Affluent, well, it used to be in a Jewish area before it became black.
Right.
But I mean, no matter who's living up there, the houses are nice, right?
It's just the way you just said it is really true. It's a super unique neighborhood in Los Angeles because you have the most affluent black neighborhood in Los Angeles next to one of what's considered the worst neighborhoods in Los Angeles. You know, one of the most ghetto projects in Los Angeles, and it's big. The Jungle is big. And Baldwin Hills is kind of small on top of it, you know what I mean? So there's really, you can go around it, I get, you know, but usually I would never, where we lived in Baldwin Hills was directly next to the Jungles. So to go around it would have been ridiculous, you know? So we would go right through it every day, you know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, it was, the thing is, I think it's amazing because on my block, there was a black brain surgeon, there was a black judge, there was a black NFL player. I'm seeing black excellence, and all the black young kids that grew up in there are seeing this, but you're also right next to an impoverished black area, so you're not so far removed from what the majority of blacks in Los Angeles are dealing with and the life that they're living, and so you get, you know, you get the street smarts to some extent, even though you don't live right in it. It's so adjacent, it's so next to it. But then, you know, you're you know, maybe going to different schools like most all the kids in that neighborhood did. And so you're also, you know, you're surrounded by kind of like this black excellence in the area where you live. And then you're going outside of your neighborhood for schools and you're meeting like other races and stuff. And you're becoming more prepared for the world that is, you know, multi-ethnic, as opposed to the kids that are stuck in these neighborhoods and don't see much else sometimes. And then when they, you know, they go out more into the greater world, they're not prepared. This is one of the things where they're not as prepared for things sometimes, you know.
Thanks for watching StreetTV.net. If you're not subscribed, please hit that button below and click the bell to receive alerts and notifications. Feel free to comment below so you can give us your feedback, and be sure to watch the 2 related episodes to the right. If you want to support this platform or follow us on social media, visit the links in the description, and thanks for watching StreetTV.net.